seeing if I'm going here. Oh, I am going. Oh, there we go. Hi, Andy. Respawn. How's it going? Sorry. Oh, can you hear the background music? Is it too loud? Is it too weird? Just looking, making sure everything's connected the way it's supposed to. Oh, good. Great. Just try to sculpt around a little bit here. Get back on track. Yes! Thank you so much for your support. Please message me if you have any questions as you go do it. I've been getting people sending me some of the stuff they've been doing with it, and it's really inspiring to see, what everyone does themselves, with the content. So it's awesome. Yes, thanks. Woo woo! I apologize if I'm a little low level this week. We just got back from a family reunion and working full time as well. It's just been nonstop partying. Nonstop partying. Okay, then the music is nice and chill, not overpowering. Okay. Good. Yeah, busy. It's just a busy summer. Summer. It's summer. It's summer. But it's been good. It's been a good busy. Just looking at things at different angles, different sizes. I think I could do some squishing. It's awesome. This is a weird flex, but I just started my new job and it's been so hectic. Yeah, new jobs. Oh, thanks. They are just blocks of blocks. I didn't even do thumbs. Still thinking about if I should do thumbs or not. But I've never walked so much in my life. Oh my gosh. 3-hour tour of the facility. Jeez, that's crazy. But also fun. I think, starting new jobs is always exciting because you're like, it's so new. It's, I remember starting at Epic and just like kind of being overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh, there's so much to know. But it's all good. It's fun. It's fun starting new things. I'm going to try to correct some of this weird wonkiness in the ears. As I'm now, after 2 full stream sessions of working on this guy, I'll start subdividing him up. And start sculpting a little bit more. Not too much more. Don't get excited there. Really, the thing that I've been doing a lot of research in is I've been drawing a ton on my iPad Pro. I love drawing on my iPad Pro. And I've started drawing like even more and more because I just have it all the time. But what it's making me want more than anything else is to be able to have ZBrush on the go. So I can sit down, it's kind of hard because like, go to a coffee shop and I can sketch for an hour and, with nothing but my iPad, which is awesome. But if I want to do like ZBrush, it's really hard. Well, one, I don't have a laptop anymore, so it's basically I'm at work or I'm at my home office here. And so I'm trying, there are no good sculpting apps on the iPad Pro, and I'm not really sure. Well, the reason is because ZBrush isn't on the iPad. Maybe it could be though. I keep like bugging Joseph. I'm like, I want it so bad. ZBrush on the iPad, please. But it's hard because in ZBrush, like I use hotkeys. I mean, ZBrush lives off hotkeys. You're using Control Select, Control Alt Select, or Control Alt Shift for all different types of things. Right click if you're a right click kind of turner. You use your as a drawing tablet. Yeah, but not away from your computer. Yeah. See, I've heard of that, and because I have the Cintiq, I don't really need the iPad, but for working for doing ZBrush stuff. But I would love to have a mobile solution for ZBrush, to be able to bring it on the go with me and be able to go to a coffee shop and sit down and do rough sculpts. I don't imagine that I would do any like final polish work, but I would do probably gesture sculpts. I love doing gesture sculpts, just like rough, trying to get blocking in things, or, using templates of block-ins that I've already made so I can quickly rough out new proportions and new ideas. So I've really heavily looked into like the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro, and it's got me thinking. It does. Sculptors, but I'm not interested in sculptors. I want ZBrush, full ZBrush, because like the iPad's basically it's strong enough that it could run it. It just needs kind of that mobile pass of like, how do you handle the UI? Could it handle multi-million? I don't know if it could handle multi-million. Like, it's definitely not going to compare to the desktop experience. But what I want is just just something that I can start whipping out ideas with. So, sit down with my kids and watch a movie, and while I'm watching the movie with them, sculpt around a bit. I think that's the dream. But anyway, so the Mobile Studio Pro, I'm wondering if that could be my solution. I want to test it out. Really get into it. I'm also just worried that like I would get it and like a new version would come out the next day. And that's the one scary thing. I mean, you do that with iPads too. Like you get an iPad and it's not obsolete, but it's very quickly replaced and updated. So I don't know why I'm talking about that, but that's what I've been thinking about. I almost just grabbed one off eBay just to like, but then I'm like, no, if you're gonna do it right. And so I think it'd be fun to do, just have something a little bit more mobile option for ZBrush. What about the Microsoft Surface? I actually really like the Microsoft Surface. I have a Surface Pro 3, and I really liked it for a long time, and then they updated it, and then the pen was probably the most frustrating thing, because like the pen worked fine. It wasn't like Wacom or Wacom or however you want to say it. Is that I'm missing something? Oh, hi, the Artabella. I've never used Apple Pencil. Is there buttons on the pencil? There's not buttons on the pencil. On the new pencil, there's a touch sensor, so you can like double tap and it has gestures, which is kind of cool, which could help, but I think you still need like a press and hold, like a click and touch. And if you could do that, maybe you could get around kind of the multi gesture, like mask and select and things like that, because I think that's probably the thing that would be the biggest hang up is I need buttons. And the cool thing about the Surface is you could get plugins to have floating buttons. Like I think there's a thing called Tablet Pro, which I used really heavily, and I would customize all my hotkeys on that, and it was great. But the pen was just so frustrating to use on the Surface Pro because it would just stop working, and you couldn't get it to work. You'd take the batteries out, you'd unsync it, you'd resync it, and it just would never. It was like an hour later, so like that hour that I was supposed to be sculpting or drawing or whatever, it just ended up being like a frustrating. You don't even want to do anything, and then it's time to go, type of thing. And I was so tired of like fighting that I just got the iPad Pro, and that, I mean, the Apple Pencil is hands down the best stylus I've used. Better than Wacom's, better than the Surface Pro pen. I mean, it really is. It feels so natural. I have a question, actually. Do you suffer from the joint pain or similar from working on the computer? How do you treat it, if so? Yes, I luckily I haven't experienced major carpal tunnel. I have little things that I squeeze or work out my hands at work that I use every now and then when I'm starting to feel like cramping in my hand. I do suffer a lot from neck pain. It's because I have horrible posture. So if you see me like down here sculpting around, yell at me. So because I get really bad migraines. I suffer from migraines and I'm guessing it's because of my horrible posture. So it's something that I've worked on I'm still working on. I still have horrible posture, but that one thing that I've done is I have a standing desk at work. I eventually will have a standing desk here too. And I don't stand all day. I have a a stool, like a wobbly stool. Like if you balance on it, you're like, woo. But I've noticed that that has helped a lot in just keeping me moving. You know, it just, so I'm not just like staying in one spot for, 8 hours of the day, which I'll find myself doing. But it helps me kind of like wiggle, and then I'll get kind of sore of sitting or sitting in this bench, and so I'll stand for a little bit, and then I'll go back to sitting and or sitting in this stool. So that's one thing that's helped. Stretching and exercise has also helped. Just trying to stay physically active, I think, has probably been the best. And then just the right food has helped quite a bit. Like trying to stay off of carbs and sugars has helped in some ways. Not that I do that, but I try not to be abundant in it. So I think I'm just aware. Like anytime that I go like snowboarding or anything, my wife is always like, do not break your wrists. Because she's very aware that the hands are the money makers. So I'm always trying to be health conscious, and at least with my hands and my neck. But migraines are not fun. So if anyone out there has migraines, it's not fun, and everyone feels like they have a solution for it. I mean, I've heard some really funky things of what people have recommended, but I'm not going to share here because they're just some funky stories. Yes, I got a lady who's looking out for me. Yes, she takes care of me. We take care of each other. Oh, that's so sweet. Where'd our music go? Random, but did I ever watch Pacific Rim? I did. I loved Pacific Rim, like the first one. It was great. I mean, it's a dumb movie, but it's fun. It was like a really fun, entertaining movie. The second one, I feel like it kind of lost the integrity of the first one. I'm like, the first one was dumb. You got the weird like scientist, yes, and therefore, like type of thing that he does with his, just, yes, and then we put it on our heads, and then, um, he was just kind of a weird, sciency dude. Um, but it was funny, and it was like kooky, and it was enough weirdness with awesomeness mixed. The second one I felt like was just bad. Yeah, such a big disappointment. Giant robot, who cares if it's dumb? I do. Because this is the thing, is like, I am all for absurdity in film. I think we take ourselves way too serious, but there's a level of like, okay, well, we can still make absurdity good, and I feel like there are successful movies that do that. Hot Rod is a good one. that comes to mind. It's like it's a horribly stupid movie, but it's like good. The Evil Dead 2 is a crazy, absurd movie, but it's awesome. It's so good. Army of Darkness, yes. You still wanted your money back. Yeah, there's just a level of hope that you want something to be good with those movies, I think. I mean, I'm not asking for like an Oscar or like quality level of effects even, but just some not stupidly horrible acting and humor and just some level of decency. Yeah, there's a passion in like the Army of Darkness films, the Evil Dead films. I mean, same with like Cabin in the Woods, right? Cabin in the Woods is crazy. It's so crazy, but it is awesome. It is one of the best modern horror films ever made. And it is smart, and it's clever, and it's probably one of the smartest horror movies ever made, actually. For sure. Oh man, Cabin in the Woods is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I love a good horror movie. I'm also terrified of horror movies. Like, so my wife has a girls' night or a book club or whatever once a month, and she's out until like 3 in the morning. It's crazy. Like, books are so great. Whatever. But my tradition is because she won't watch horror movies with me. When she's out, I will find a horror movie and I'll watch it by myself. But I'm really scared the whole time. Like I'm not one of those people that love horror movies and they don't get scared. Like I am scared the entire time watching watching these. And so like I'm watching them and I'm like, normally I'll start, blanket on my lap. Of course, there's a blanket on my lap, eating some popcorn. And by the end of the movie, I'll be like watching like this, blanket pulled up almost over my eyes, probably over my eyes. And like sometimes like when the real, like there was one that I literally, because it was downstairs in our basement and I was at the top of the stairs looking down with the blanket pulled up over my eye, like up over here, my dog next to me, and I was watching at the top of the stairs looking down because I couldn't handle it. It was so bad, but I still do it every single time. Haunting of Hill House on Netflix was great. I loved it. You're the same way, but I'm like addicted to the rush of watching a horror movie and not knowing what's going to happen. Like, Don't Breathe or It Chapter 1 was a great movie. Oh, I didn't see Don't Breathe, but the It Chapter 1 was fantastic, and the sequel looks terrifying. It looks so scary. We were we were watching it in the theater, and I'm just keep whispering to my friends, "This is a horrible mistake. What have we done? This is so. What have we done?" I'm not. I don't hide my fears. I embrace my fears by crying. Like ain't any decent fella. Oh, I just watched. The last one that I watched was Hereditary. Has anybody seen Hereditary? That was a mistake. I think I stopped watching it halfway through, and I had to stop because I was like, this is a bad idea. Yeah, this is a bad idea. And so I turned it off, put the remote in the fridge, as you do, so it doesn't come out. I think Joey Triviani taught me that. And then I finished it, and it was like, I can't believe I finished it, actually. That was scary. And then Pet Sematary. Oh my gosh, I watched Pet Sematary. Oh, these were horrible films. That was a rough movie, it was. The last, I'm not going to spoil it, but like the last couple of scenes are like vividly shocked, like imprinted in my brain of like how extremely bad that was, like how disturbing it was. So go ahead and watch Hereditary. See, I normally don't get too scared, but when it starts like creeping on like the realm of possession, I really don't do very well. Like that's when I'm like, okay, I'm checking out. This is a no-no what I'm doing right now. By the way, so I'm kind of sculpting on the eyes, which probably is a mistake. I'm gonna do this. I want the eyes to feel more bulgy. So I'm just going to do some slight sculpting. Just some slight sculpting. I mean, we're in ZBrush, right? I'd say the one horror movie that really affects me was The Mist. The Mist ending. Oh my gosh, that ending. You had to call. Yes, it's so devastatingly bad. That ending is like, that is one of the worst endings. Your wife can do slashers and blood and guts, but she can't handle a psychological. See, yeah, I can do slashers. Slashers are fine. That doesn't scare me too much. I actually think it's kind of, I like the effects of it. of a good slasher. I mean, B horror movies are some of the best things in the world. Um, what was I gonna say? But I don't do possession movies very well. I normally will like, no thank you. But I do, yes. Overlord was great. I really liked. Oh, what I was gonna say is that there's the movies that I love. I really loved Overlord. I thought Overlord was fun. It was entertaining. It was different. It was well done. It was cringy. But the movies that I don't really love horror wise is when the movie ends and there's no hope for anyone. um, like what was there's a movie with Brittany Snow, I think, and she's getting chased by like a killer, like a serial killer or something, and she's trying to run for her life, and in the end, her all of her friends die throughout the movie, and in the end, her boyfriend dies, her parents are dead, the cop that comes to save her dies, and it's just her. There's no one else in her circle of like, okay, you're gonna be all right. No, there's so movies that end with like there's no hope. I always like this is just a bad ending. But like you get a movie like Get Out, and Get Out's real. I think was really well done. I really liked Get Out. It had those like what is going on type moments. I haven't seen his new movie, The Us or whatever. I think it's called Us, right? I want to see it very badly. Let's see. Gonna catch up on some of this. Happy Death Day 1 was awesome. I haven't seen the second one. It was really the first one was really good though. I'm trying to convince her to watch The Thing, but it made me the mistake of telling her that more of a psychological. The Thing is good. That's a great one. Um, yes, it was the Wolfen. Overlord was the Wolfenstein movie that we deserve. Technically, Mist has hope. Yeah, I don't know if Mist has hope. That was that ending is so devastating. um, yeah, Happy Death Day. I've seen the first one and it's fantastic. I'm gonna recommend this is to everyone out there that there's a great B horror movie called The Prophecy, a monster movie. It's like The Prophecy semicolon a monster movie. 1987, I think, is when it was. Is one of the best worst monster movies there are. It's about like a mutant bear that's been poisoned by 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 mercury, I think is what they're claiming. but it's really good. And it's like this guy in this big bear suit and like no spoilers or anything, but like we live in an age where you can't do certain things in film anymore. This is horrible. This is going to sound so bad. Like kids don't die in horror movies. Animals don't die in horror movies. And I think in this movie, both kids and animals, like dogs and cats, like I think they all die. And it is so funny because you just don't you don't see it and the effects are so bad. it's really good. It makes me sound really great. Maybe let's do a save real quick before I do this next thing. Yunky dunky dunky. Oh, by the way, if people are just joining me, I do have some Gumroad videos that I sell that I teach kind of these techniques of how to create stylized characters in a very beautiful, funny way in ZBrush. Available gumroad.com/redbeard. Shameful self-promotion. So anyways. I'll have to check it out. Better and worse than Raw Head Rex. I haven't seen Raw Head Rex. I do have an ArtStation. Let me post artstation.com/Redbeard. Let me throw that on this. I've got my ArtStation there, and then I've got my Gumroad. I'll post the link right here in the comments so you guys can see that too. When I teach, from beginner to advanced character design focused. It's all ZBrush, but it's also heavily into character design theory and very traditional both in sculpting and in design. Okay, let's do this next little part here. Subtool master mirror in a new one. And this will be fun. This will be let's try this new technique out here. I'm going to just try something. Let's get up a little bit higher. What I'm doing is I'm just polygrouping these. And then I'm going to run a ZBrush on this with keep groups on, turn my smooth to about 0.3.5 or closer to 0.4, and then my target will be low. The ZBrush is awesome. The ZBrush is my favorite thing. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that Cyborg Cowboy was a lot of fun. I did that for 3D World magazine a couple of years ago. It was a tutorial that they asked me to make, and so I did that. One horror movie that looks criminally underrated is Candyman. Oh, Candyman is terrifying. Just hearing Tony Todd's crazy booming voice as the Candyman just freaked me out. Oh, yeah. Oh, the Candyman. That was an old one. That's a good one. Ooh, almost. Let's go a little bit higher. I bet we could keep it around 5. Let's see what we got here. This is like good, I guess. The last movie that I watched that really like messed me up though was what is it called? The Conjuring. That movie was horrible. It really was terrifying. Because not only was it like terrifying, like I immediately oh, that's what's going on. I don't want symmetry. Like I immediately started looking at like the real story and found all this like footage and audio stuff of stuff that happened in the real house. You know, it's over like a 2-year period that they show in the movie, but a lot of it is so creepy. Oh, it's creepy. And again, the possession stuff gets me, and especially like I was in a house that all sorts of weird sounds would always happen. And so I was always like, our house is haunted. It's by a witch. Oh, that's so much better. Look at that. Oh. Uh-huh. So, yeah, you live in a 90-year-old house. Yeah, your house is definitely haunted. There's no doubt about that. We just moved into a new house last November, and it's always weird because like you're not used to the noises and like how the house moves. So like for the first month, every time like the AC would kick on or the heater would kick on, it's like, ugh, someone's here. Hello, Sup VFX. How's it going? Let's gonna run this one more time. See if it cleans up kind of that stuff. Nope. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so we'll just make our little eye. Yes, yes. Great. Scott, how's it going? So this will serve as a nice little template eye. We'll give a little speck here too. Let's give a quick color to this eye too. So I'll just do this in grayscale for now, or maybe let's give him brown eyes. Nice, cute, fluffy, brown eyes. It's a little too Ralph. Yeah, that's okay. Do a quick highlight on the rim. This is like the 2-second eye, but it gives pretty good results. There we go. Yeah, that gives pretty good results. And then I'll just do another mirror and to another subtool. And the reason why I'm doing another subtool is because I might mush around the shapes a little bit, and so I don't really want them all together. Oh, he's so happy. Oh, our music has died. And let's choose like this material for the eyes. It's the ZBrush paint material. Do that. It gives the eyes some nice appearance of depth to them when you turn it. But it also doesn't like mute it out. Sometimes like I used to use this ZBrush paint. I still use it quite a bit. But as soon as I start modeling it in, you can see the difference of like this eye still looks flat, but like because there's now curvature, that speck is looking weird. So we'll give that ZBrush paint another slam, and then we're good. I just filled that material to that eye. How do you change the material for a separate subtool? So you fill, like if I wanted the skin to just be this Z1 material, what I do is I turn on, just the M. You've got your mRGB, which is your material and color, your color or your material, and then you do a fill object. So you can fill object. So now, if I turn back on all my subtools, if I switch materials, everything will change, but that one subtool that I filled with, that I filled with just the material. And to erase this, like say if I don't like that material anymore, I want it to go back to, to do a default, I go choose my flat color, and if you're not using my stuff, you choose your flat material, which is somewhere flat. There it is. And then you fill it again, fill object, and that will nuke the materials. So now you can go back and change to anything you want. Just going to sculpt a little bit on the teeth. And this is just to start roughing in some shapes. if you're doing old people teeth, because they grind so much, like there's a like your tooth is originally shaped like this, you know, but as you age and the enamel starts wearing down, it kind of like flattens off, and you can kind of see the internalness of it all. So that's what I want to look. I want to kind of have that old man look where he's kind of maybe grinding away his teeth. Gonna just open his mouth just a little bit more so it looks like there's some more depth in there. Yeah, that feels better. I can open up these teeth just a little bit wider. And my music died. Who killed my music? When you get a chance, can you flash your lowest subdiv for your face? I'm curious just to see how much resolution I'm using. Yeah, give me 1 second here. Okay. So, this is actually it. The lowest subdivision, I think. This is actually higher than I normally sculpt, but because he's got this big grin that I was trying to get that detail into, so I actually Z-meshed it again to get it to follow this, without having to re-rig the whole thing. So he's a little bit higher than I normally like to have my lowest subdivision, but it's not too bad. It's still really easy to manage. Yeah, that was it. It's okay. I stay in my lowest for a really long time. Like I spend a lot of time making sure forms are feeling right, shapes are feeling right. This is, still not very high. It's only 300,000. And I'll stay at this as I start working out some of the finer details. Trying to get the ears to feel right, getting to get the folds to feel maybe a little bit more intentional. You'll notice I don't use a whole bunch of brushes. Like I really like, the 7 brushes that I use. It's mainly just the move tool and the clay buildup tool. And then occasionally the damn standard. And the standard, I guess. Just the regular old standard. Still has a place in my heart. I wonder if people actually use more of those brushes. Oh wait, I wonder if people actually use more than those brushes you mentioned. The simpler the better, I guess. Yeah, it's just really like how you feel comfort-wise with brushes. I mean, I know some people that really use the variety of brushes really well. It's just focusing on like stylize and clean, and there's a certain level of control that comes in these simple brushes. I mean, this is one that I use pretty heavily, is the inflate to get folds to look right. And then one thing that I've started to do as well is I'll switch over to my wax material and go to my render settings, render properties, I guess, and then turn on the wax preview, and then just kind of adjust. So this will help me. This is a good gauge of like what detail is fading away and what detail needs to be popped out a little bit more. So this gives it just a fake subsurface scattering. So I'll just, with the wax preview, I normally kind of tone it down to 50%. So that shows me like some of these wrinkles are really coming across nice now. The eyes, the nose could probably be hit a little bit more. So I'll do that. And then I'll switch back and just see how, see now that nose is coming across. So that's just like when I get this ready to render, and I'll probably just render it out of Keyshot. That it will have that level of detail that I want. So like the ear is probably starting to fade just a little bit more, so I could go through and punch that just a bit. You know, some of these wrinkles on the neck are coming across a little bit too, they're a little bit too uniform. So I'll try to, maybe pinch them a little bit more. That's a pretty good gauge of like how to tell if your detail's catching or not. Plus, I've got to look at this at like different screens because this Cintiq is not super great for like true color. I think the newer ones are. This one's, 4 years old, 5 years old. Still awesome though. Music, where'd you go? Oh, the end of the page. Start detailing out some of this other stuff. So one thing about stylized characters is like can be very simplistic and you're thinking about shapes, but a lot of the things that get lost or left behind are some of the little things of like not making things parallel or asymmetry, or so even a simple thing like the collar to have a thinner neck, like the thinner point than the bottom. So like just adding in a simple taper goes a long ways. And then I like to model these out. Oh, it's masked. That's why it's doing some of that weird business. So now when I do a preview, it'll look soft. Those edges will already look, soft but crisp. Like a good French fry. Soft but crisp. I feel like I'm listening to like the Halloween movie soundtrack. What do we got? We got, I think his color is under here. So I'll do the same thing. It's just, keeping that collar nice and tight. And then kind of the same things. It's like I don't need a lot of definition for the body. I just need some of those forms to stay the same. So with my Z modeler brush, I'll quickly just add little bits of layers of detail Oh, thanks, slime. We're getting there. Yeah, let's change up this music just a little bit. Bum. I just made that up. This is kind of my go-to anyways. Some jazz. You know, some quick subdivisions. Oops. Some quick insert points. This will all be eventually dynameshed. I really don't need too much, but just enough to translate what I want. And then do the same thing of making sure we've got thick, oops, and thins, so maybe it's weighted more towards the bottom of the cuff. It's just thinking about like the graphic nature and where you can throw little accent points. That's kind of what I'm doing. And then just throwing in a couple more edge loops so it retains its shape. Same with these little manis that I've made. I guess they're not manis, they're armies. Do I make the skins for Fortnite? I've never made a skin for Fortnite. I've made a bunch of the pets for Fortnite. I did the sculpts for the dog, the wolf, the cat, the hamster, and the chameleon. all the crazy voices that I do. This guy is probably like, pie? I love pie. It's probably what he's going at. Mr. Squarepeg. Hello. Hello. Tra-la-la. This guy's not a fancy guy, so he probably sounds a little weirder. Hi, where are we? So with this, because I'll be dynameshing like the sleeves together, I'm just getting them close. Thank you, Nuck. You know, with this character where I know that I'm going to be hiding like a bunch of the mistakes, well, not the mistakes, but just a bunch of like the folds and stuff, like he doesn't really have any arms in there. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting enough detail, but not necessarily any real detail. If that makes sense. So his arm is actually this way and this way. And maybe let's add just a little definition for where his cuff would be. Oops. Poly loop, and we'll just extend just a little bit. Yes. Do the same to this one. How powerful is my PC? Well, it's pretty powerful. It's it's pretty. Let me get through these. Have I ever seen the end of Dead Space 3? No, I haven't. What character will you do next for the stream? I don't know. There's a character that this girl that I drew that I haven't posted yet. I've wanted to kind of finish her off. Well, not finish her off, but I wanted to sculpt her and see how she does. I don't know. Something. How powerful is my PC? My PC, so I'll just tell you the specs. The CPU is a 8-core Ryzen, or an AMD Ryzen. I can't remember. The Ryzen, the The 8-core one. It's awesome. It came out a few years ago. Really powerful. I've had no issues with it. I have a 1080i or a 1080 NVIDIA graphics card, and then 64 gigs of RAM, one M.1 hard drive, SD hard drive, and then one terabyte SSD hard drive, and then a giant just regular hard drive. I think it's like a 5 terabyte hard drive for just backing up everything. So it's pretty powerful, CPU wise. It could be powerful. Like the new stuff's awesome. Yeah, I think it's the 1800X Ryzen. That's what it was. Have I ever had any lag streaming or sculpting? I haven't had any lag sculpting. I have had no lag. I mean, you always get a little lag in Photoshop when you get into like some crazy detailed brushes, but I've never had any lag on ZBrush. I haven't had any problem being able to stream or record and sculpt for sure. So it's pretty powerful. I'd like to still update the CPU because KeyShot is very CPU heavy, and I render a lot out of KeyShot. So it would be nice to have a buttload more cores. But that's, RAM-wise, I'm probably as much as I'll ever need. I mean, ZBrush doesn't need that much, but it's great with 64 gigs. Oh, from the PC, I've never had any lags from anything else other than Adobe. Other than Adobe stuff, I've never had any lags. It's still like, you're rendering in KeyShot and it takes time, but I mean, I'm doing a render that would normally take like 10 hours in 3 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour. And it's nice. It's great. So I'm still kind of deciding on how I want to do the teeth. So right now I'm just kind of sketching in like the anatomy of the teeth. Got your bottom canine, your bicuspid, which is the 2 point. And then you got your molars. I'm just dancing to the music if you can't tell. Yeah, what is it that I feel like my fear is that Adobe is going the way of Autodesk, where they're now just like, we don't need to support what we've creating or what we've created, we're just creating it now. So this is creating like the wear that you get really heavily, especially on the front teeth. I don't know if you ever looked at old people's teeth. It's like how it wears down. You can kind of see like the internal anatomy of the teeth. So what I'm just doing is just kind of quickly fleshing out how these teeth the anatomy will look. And I can go back and actually sculpt some of the more correct anatomy on top of this. So the key with like sculpting more realistic teeth is just understanding how teeth anatomy forms. It's not like a tic tac. It's actually got. This is gonna overemphasize what the anatomy would be, but you have kind of these three pillars that grow, and then you kind of smooth them and blend them together, but they start looking like teeth. They start filling out. That's kind of how you build up the anatomy of a tooth. But with this, where he's an old man and he's got that enamel that's worn down. Maybe his gums are receding a little bit because when you're old, your gums start to recede. And maybe these teeth back here are a little flatter because they've been ground down so much. For animation, would you go about the teeth the same way? Just curious. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the level of character, but I would. I mean, this is a block-in stage right here. Like, I'm not. Oops. I'm not worrying too much about a lot of. I'm not building out the teeth. If this was for cinematic, like a film, I would actually go through. Oops. Where's my orb crack brush? I would actually go through and actually sculpt each individual tooth and place it. I mean, that's what I did for the cyborg dude. Like, let me show you. The cowboy cyborg that I made, he's actually has individual, and that's for most of the characters. I actually go in and I'll take time to sculpt in. Like, those are actual teeth that you're seeing there. Like, you see the anatomy in them. You see how they line up and they kind of overlap, and the gums, they roll into the gums, and it's all purposefully done as like, oh, well, this is if he were to smile, or if this is how his jaw would open up, this is how it would work. Type of thing. I mean, similar with this gal, those are actually individual teeth modeled in with gums. So, and same with this. It's all there. It's all there. But I would block it out, maybe the same way first. But for something that's like just for a for fun sculpt like this, I may or may not. It depends on how much I can get with this, how far I could get with this. But for rendering purposes, I'd still probably want to like sculpt out, make sure that they're actual individual teeth. But for now, I'm just going to quickly just get enough detail in there. I have an unfair advantage when it comes to teeth, yes. As working, my dad's a dentist. I worked at a dental lab. I made my 4 front teeth, their veneers. I've had a lot of practice when it comes to teeth. So, yes. So it's also like one of my pet peeves when I see a really pretty sculpt and the teeth are chiclets. They're little Tic Tacs. But this is a technique for like loose. I'm not trying to carve in every last detail. It's just like I want the gesture to be there because it will read better. But if I go in and like try to like sculpt the in-betweens of all these at this point, it's going to look a lot worse. It's going to look less real. But if I don't do that and just kind of, rough in the cracks, because you don't see that. It's a very like 2D principle where you're not drawing in each line of the tooth. You're kind of hinting at the lines, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here. It's like just hint at the lines, hint that there's anatomy back there. Give the tongue a little bit of texture to it. Hide your kids, hide your teeth. That's awesome. I'll start finishing these hands a little bit more. How much did my Cintiq cost? Well, that's a personal question. Ugh. I can't remember. I think it was $2,200 or something around there, with the stand and everything. I mean, it's definitely not. They're not cheap. Cintiqs are not cheap. I mean, they are amazing though. I don't know. And the cool thing is that it's so good that I honestly I don't see the need to upgrade this monitor ever. Like the new ones really are out, and a few of the people in our office that have been hired recently have the new version, which is awesome. Oh my gosh, it is so great. But it still doesn't make me want to be like, "Oh, I need that." Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this is just drawing out topology for a thumb or for a fingernail. This is probably the most exciting part of the stream is the fingernail sculpting. I know this is what I came for. Artabella's gotta go. I'm gonna go watch Rocket Man. Yes. Hey, thanks for coming by so much. Jorge, how's it going? Oh, I don't know how to say that. Matt, dude, how's it going? Um, the touch feature seems pretty unnecessary. Yes, the one thing that I've done instantly when I got my Cintiq was I turned off the touch features because it's just so reliant on all software everywhere working perfectly, and it just doesn't. You get one software that updates and it goes to crap real quick. So I agree. I turn off the touch feature. That was when I requested a Cintiq for work. I requested the one without the touch because of that very issue. Actually, the one that I bought as well for my home is without the touch. So I'm just placing a few more edge loops so that when this gets subdivided and starts smoothing out, that the edges will be nice and smooth and controlled the way I want. So if I hit D, they start to look real smooth. So now I can go in to my fingers again. I really love how it's going. What do you search in a concept that makes you want to sculpt it? That's a great question. So this is actually a concept that I made. It was from, just sketching around at a coffee shop, I think. So really the things that I like to sculpt when I'm even looking at other people's concepts, because I sculpt from other people's concepts all the time. I look for things that speak to me. Like I want it to be fun. I want it to be fun. Like, oh, this is going to be interesting. I also like things that have story or have an idea of story to them. So this guy, he's a guy that I just drew, who is no one in particular, but the idea of like some guy that liked pie was funny to me. There we go. So things that have story, things that look like fun, and also that could be a challenge, like, oh, I don't know how I would do that. And so doing things that I know would push me is also something that I look to try to do. Man, this is getting out of hand. Out of hand. Ah, oh, thanks. Not loving that. There we go. This damn standard 2 brush is pretty awesome. Let's just say that. I'll wait to do that. Let's get the right amount of detail before we start doing crazy wrinkles. So I've turned on a auto mask right now. It's masked by groups. Because these fingers are all split up into different polygroups, I can just do a mask so I'm only affecting the mesh that I'm touching first. And this is automatically applied to every brush that I choose now until I turn that off. So those details will probably all need to be punched a little bit, but at least I've got some nice landmarks. And I'm going to take this and dynamesh it. Ooh, a dynamesh. So I can start refining the overall hand a little bit more. Let's see how that goes. So this is one thing that's going to be tricky, is to keep those. Aha! I've got a solution. So what I'm going to do, and we'll see how this works, is I'm going to okay, so we've got big open holes here. I'm going to delete hidden. Oh, let's go to my delete hidden. So now I've just got a bunch of open holes. Let's not do that. And I'm going to use my handy dandy. This is going to be tricky. Oh, this is going to be tricky. Okay, I'm going to step back a little bit. Maybe I can just do this. Nope. Let's do a quick save. This is going to be tricky. Back in the day, I believed you could dynamesh just something that was visible. Oh, fully visible. Yes, this will be quite tricky. No, I've got a solution. I think I'm making holes in the mesh. I mean, I could Dynamesh it together. I just want to be able to have the ability to move the fingers a little bit. So if I do a polygroup like that, hide this. I guess I could just select that. So I select that, delete hidden. So now I have 4 holes with 4 fingers, and I can go back to my curve brush. And append each one, and then ZRemesh this, which will keep everything. And it's a solution. Let's see how it does. Aha! And that I can work with. So this will append each digit into it while maintaining the fingers separately. Oops. I mean, traditionally you model the fingers hands out, but because I just wanted to do it quick, I just modeled and posed the fingers as what they were. But this works. This works. The thing is, ZBrush is awesome. You can do one thing a billion different ways, and it's all great. See how the fingers are in there. So now, and I've already got my polygroups, so I can just do, let's duplicate the hand, ZRemesher with keep groups on. Let's see how that goes. So what is today's conspiracy? And welcome back. Thanks, Tom. How's it going? Ooh, today's conspiracy. I don't know if it's a conspiracy or if it's just a cool story, like the giants. Have you guys heard about the giants? Like giant before... They've got to be like just after the era of cavemen. Or maybe like a break off of cavemen. But like before... I mean, they're all over the world. There's a lot of history of these giants in Scotland and England, and there's even some where I live in Utah. There's these these. Oh, I've got mask by groups on. See, look at that! Look at that! Ah, ZBrush, you done did it again. The 5 example. Fear blog? What's fear blog? I don't know what fear blog is. Is that something that I need to look up? Tom, is that something I need to look up? But there's these cool, so like this, there's this, in Utah, there are these, oh, what are they called? But there are these big red-haired giants, like 8 feet, 9 feet tall. And they were red, and they had big red beards with curly mustaches, and they were feared, and everybody loved them also at the same time. And oh, wait a second. But like the story goes that like this guy was hiking in these mountains, and it's Fearbalg. Fearbalg. What is Fearbalg? Fearblog, I know. But Fearbalg. I don't know what this is. Excuse me. Oh, okay. I will do that. But this guy was hiking, and he found a cave in some hills, and obviously he's probably drinking. I don't know. No, he was hiking and then stumbled upon these caves and found that these caves go way back. And when he went back into these caves, he found like a crypt. And inside this crypt were these giant tombs of like these perfectly preserved giant red-bearded, red-haired giants. And all around them was like gold. And because that's what red-haired giants were buried in, obviously. But he had drawings. I mean, the drawings that he showed, oh, it's so sad. But it's like, we had a professional render this, and it's exactly like this, and it kind of looks like that leprechaun. Did you guys ever remember when that old news story of like the artist rendition of the leprechaun that the people saw, and it's just like a 4-year-old drew it? That's basically what this guy, and he was bringing it to like a scientific study. I mean, the story was really cool of like, he found the tomb of these ancient giants. But anyways, what I'm getting at with these giants is not this guy and, if he saw him or not, but these stories of these giants are all over the world. Like, Asia, there's a real big history of like, 12-foot men or 12-foot giants that would walk, as tall as 12 feet. And like, I think there might even be some like crypts that talk about, this is where all they were. This is where they were. But all over the world, they had like these giants. So it was like, is this like, and then it goes into like the idea of, well, what age of men are we? Are we the first generation of bipedal men that had communication and dialect, or are we like the second generation? Are we? And the idea is that there was a first generation of men where there were big giants, and they didn't call themselves giants, obviously, because they were normal size back then. And we are a part of the second generation of men that are from, because there was a second extinction where the first generation died, along with animals and species, but that's the idea, is that we're like a part of a second civilization because there's already been one extinction of men, and we're like the remnants of the second generation. Does that make sense? And the Fomorian giants. I don't what is the Fomorian giants? I'm sure they're great. Anyways, that's not really a conspiracy. It's just interesting that there's a lot of folklore about these giants and, you know, possibly history. I don't know if that's what you could call it. But it's definitely interesting to think about. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Let's turn this all back on. Howdy ho!
Sergeant First Class Graham Breedlove on the trumpet. Master Sergeant Matt Neese with the composition and also the trombone.
Let's see if I can do a match here, actually. Turn on those. Then turn on this, and I'm going to just do a duplicate. Let's do a duplicate. I don't know why we would need more fingernails, but why not? Well, you could look at the legend of Atlantis for realms of men through generations that became extinct. Yes, Atlantis. Copy. Oh, thanks, Tom. Glad you're able to check that out. That was a lot of fun to kind of revisit my original concept and see of ways like how I would approach it now versus how I approached it then. So it was a lot of fun to be able to do. Oh, that's my downfall. Okay, let's delete. Whoops. Anyways, what I'm doing is cheating. No, I've just sculpted one hand, and to save time, I'm just taking that other hand and positioning it where my block-in hand is, thus saving valuable seconds. Now we'll turn it back on. And then let's kind of sculpt. Copy cheap. Ah, everything is well in the universe now. That's awesome. I'm coming off a very tiring weekend. It was fun. It was lots of fun. Just tiring. It's a family reunion. You know, just lots of family gatherings. And when you're having fun, you stay up late and you never go to bed, and basically that's what happened. So I mean, without caffeine, I am not awake right now. Hello, Shika. Thank you. I did not say your name correctly. Thanks. Thanks for coming by. It's okay. Thank goodness. So we've got about 15 more minutes before I'm going to wrap up. Is there anything you guys want me to start working on with this guy that you want to see how I would approach something? If not, I'll just kind of keep going around, jumping from thing to thing. Are you at your family reunion thinking about 1 month's time? Oh, is he gonna get you into Weta? Or are you at Weta? Or did you get to go do some stuff for Weta? I can't remember. I think you were doing some cool motorcycle thing. Is that right? I'm trying to remember. We're still planning our New Zealand trip down in about 4 years. My wife and I are going to go to New Zealand for a while. Oh no, Tom, that's devastating. But is it looking okay? Like, do you feel good about that? Dude, that sucks. Have I ever tried a realistic style? Yeah, I've done realistic stuff before. Um, it's not my favorite thing to do, but I do it every now and then just to challenge myself. I think because like for game in the gaming world, well, you're definitely rocking, Tom. I don't doubt that. But as far as like the realistic stuff, it's just I like to do studies in realism just to keep, if the video game that we're working on requires more of a realistic look, it's nice to know that I can have my tools sharpened for that. Well, Tom, we're gonna send some good love your way. Good. Let's get your model sorted out. So to answer Caesar's question, I'm at a company called Epic Games, and they've made, they're known for making the fork knife, the Fortnite, and we are actually we're at the studio in Salt Lake, and we are on another project currently called Spy Jinx, and I worked a little bit on Fortnite for a while to help support, the massive amount of content that's been needed, but it's we're now trying to finish up our game that's called Spy Jinx, and really that's about all the info that I can say about Spy Jinx, other than it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So as far as yes and no, I guess, to how much I can change the models. The character team is fairly small, so it's nice to have some liberty to change the models the way that you know that are necessary. But I can't really say too much about it. It's going to be really cool. The game looks really good. So. Tom, thanks, man. Working on Judge Dredd, nice. Sweet. Yes, the joys of NDA. So, the funny thing is, like, I've worked at Epic for 3 years now, and I haven't been able to post anything that I've worked on because it's all, NDA and stuff that hasn't been released. But hopefully one day it will be, because it's really cool. When does the NDA? Never. But there's some cool stuff coming out. I mean, Epic is always doing cool stuff. Just gonna try some things out of like pushing out some more asymmetrical. Just see if I like. Oh, I lost the poly paint on this. The material. Yeah, it's something like that. Epic is a pretty awesome company to work for. I'm not gonna lie. They love making video games beyond anything else. I've been in different company cultures where like the number one thing was like, we need to make money, we need to get our projections, blah 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 blah. And like Epic is like truly like, we want to make something freaking awesome and fun and something that we're proud of, and we're gonna try new things, and we're gonna you know I think that's been one of the funnest parts to be. One of the coolest parts to see is like leaders of the company who actually care not only about making video games, but the people who also help make those video games. Just keep working at it. Just set that goal and work towards that goal every day. Make it happen. Well, I'm betting that is improved by having their own high-end. Yes. Yeah. And they want to keep making that better too. I think that's probably. I mean, it's definitely a big push of how successful the game engine has been. But it's also like the game engine is just another part, another facet of like wanting to make a cool video game. Tim Sweeney, the president of the company, he really just loves the industry and like wants to do cool, awesome stuff. In the past, when something is cleared to share online, do you have to follow guidelines when posting or content approved by your PR or something? I don't know. I've never posted under Epic or anything that I've done from Epic. Um, so I'm not really sure. I'm sure there is an approval process. There was at Disney when I was at Disney. Anytime that we'd post like the Disney Infinity characters, we had pretty strict guidelines of how to post it, what were images that we could post, what images could we share, that kind of thing. So I'm sure Epic has the same kind of stuff. Also, I was excited to see Unreal leak into film more and more. Real-time rendering is getting good. Yes, I think that's something that has me really jazzed is the possibilities of real-time rendering for film or TV. I honestly think, I mean, I've thought that for a long time, is that that's the way animation will go eventually, is using more real-time rendering, because it's getting so good. It's nearly that level of film. And it's cool to see a company and to be a part of the company that's helping, make that transition happen. Okay, I think that's all I can get to tonight. I've got to jump off. It's now my time to call it end. But thanks for everyone for coming by, for your comments, for your questions, and for joining me for this little shindiggity dig. I hope it's been entertaining, or at least something that you can drink yourself away and forget it all. So that's also good. So, but thanks for coming by. Yeah, that's all I got for you. Happy sculpting. You guys are great. Thanks again.